Donald J. Bingle was the world's top-ranked player of classic role-playing games from 1985 to 2000. He has published over 35 science fiction, fantasy, thriller, horror, steampunk, romance, and comedy stories, and 3 novels. Net Impact, a spy thriller, Greensword, a tale of extreme global warming, and Forced Conversion, a military sci-fi tale. All for sale over there. He is the author of Writer on Demand, trademark, story collections on Kindle and Kindle and Nook. He is a member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America, International Thriller Writers. Bear with me as I get through this very long list. He is involved in a lot of groups. International Association of Media Tie-in Writers, the Gen Con Writers Symposium, Origin Game Fair Library, and the St. Charles Writers Group. You can find out more at donaldjbingle.com, and I would like to welcome Don.
Thank you. Well, since it is the holiday season, and it is also that month between National Novel Writing Month and Richard Graves' Project Publish, and since I've been in the St. Charles Writers Group doing critiques of other writers' material for more than 10 years, I thought that this story was appropriate for the season. It's called Season's Critiquings. Dear unpublished author, thank you for using Writers Group Critique Service to evaluate your latest submission. To assist you in making your writing better and more marketable, your submission appears below, along with a line-by-line recitation of suggestions for improving your writing. First, the title, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. While alliterative and unique, remember that shorter titles can appear in larger type on the spine of your book or on the thumbnail icon for e-readers. Also, titles which are merely character names give the potential purchaser no information about the genre or tone of the piece, and thus do not aid the potential customer in coming to a purchase decision. You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. Setting aside the unusual choice of second-person perspective for a moment, this is a weak opening line, providing no hook to seize the reader. If the reader knows these characters, why are you telling him or her that he or she knows them? And if the reader does not know these characters, he or she is immediately confused or put off by the assumption. Moreover, the series of names is ungrammatical in its repeated use of and, instead of separating the names by commas. Except for one comma inexplicably appearing in the middle, making the entire series non-parallel in structure. Also, check your research. I think the name is actually Donder, not Donner. But do you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rhetorical questions are a weak cousin to vivid description. Besides, the question makes no sense in light of the preceding text. If the reader knows the other 8 reindeer characters, how would they possibly not know the most famous? Perhaps you mean most interesting, or most recent addition to the reindeer pantheon, or something. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. This repeat of the title adds nothing, and is an odd and incomplete character description. Do you mean the red nose to imply habitual drunkenness? Or perhaps lack of enough sense to come in out of the cold? What about Rudolph's eyes, his torso, his antlers, his hooves? The reader deserves more. Had a very shiny nose. You've already described the nose and nothing else. Shiny is also an odd choice of a descriptor. Do you mean smooth or wet, or are you using the term shiny in the sense of the slang in the show Firefly? In which case your target demographic is quite limited, and seems unmatched to the overall tenor of this work. You also ventured into past tense here. Is Rudolph's nose no longer shiny? And if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. Enough with the nose already. Something needs to happen or your readers will stop reading. And if I ever saw subjunctive phrasing used in a well-constructed story, I would say I was surprised. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. At last, some conflict. But if you're going to treat all of the reindeer as a collective, why bother to name them all separately? Why have 8? Wouldn't 2 or 3 do? By giving each of the other reindeer individual qualities, they would become more three-dimensional characters. Perhaps one could be the ringleader of this bullying, and a couple others eager henchmen, but yet another a reluctant participant who likes Rudolph secretly, or covets his unique nose. Last but not least, you seem to have shifted into third-person perspective, a much more traditional and reader-friendly approach. Consider revising the entire story to this perspective. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Again, the monolithic collective of reindeer action seems to paint all reindeer as cruel and may be regarded as speciesist in today's political correct environment. I also would like a lot more detail about the reindeer games, especially since I can't think of a single one. They play Quidditch, they can fly and kick, so it's a reasonable assumption. Be specific. Concrete images, not generic vagaries, fuel the reader's imagination. Then, one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say, "Foggy? Are we in the bayou?" Wouldn't the North Pole, Santa's traditional residence, be more likely to be snowy? A whiteout during an Arctic blizzard can be a compelling setting for action and triumph over adversity. But fog? I can't think of anyone who finds fog scary. Let's face it, no one found the original version of the movie The Fog even slightly horrifying. They just watched it because Adrienne Barbeau has a big rack. And what's with the phrase, "came to say"? Isn't "said" a whole lot simpler? Rudolph, with your nose so bright. Again with the nose fetish. You obviously have perverse sexual fantasies about Karl Maldenbach and Barbara Streisand while Jimmy Durante watches. So far, we know the nose is red, shiny, glowing, and bright, but we know nothing about the character's inner turmoil, his willingness to face down adversity, or his growth over the course of the narrative. Won't you guide my sleigh tonight? This dialogue seems stilted. Wouldn't "will you guide" be more natural? Also, there is considerable ambiguity in the question posed by Santa. He doesn't say lead the team of generic reindeer during their presumed flight delivering toys, and he doesn't say light the path for them. Instead, he says guide. Is Rudolph being asked to fly alongside? Is he sitting in the back of Santa telling him where to turn? Is he huddled over a GPS device? Details drive action. Then all the reindeer loved him. Again, the collective reindeer, but this time combined with a pronoun with an ambiguous antecedent. Him? Who? Santa or Rudolph? Don't make the reader wait until the end of a sentence to understand the beginning. In addition, the change of heart by the reindeer seems sudden and lacking in motivation. They love Rudolph because he is superior, because he's usurping a job they usually perform. Why? In this tough economy, Rudolph's job ascension might easily lead to layoffs, and even one reindeer laid off is at an unemployment rate of 12.5%, well above the current national average. Finally, love seems an odd word choice. Isn't liked, tolerated, stopped teasing, or respected him in the morning really more accurate? And they shouted out in glee. Consider making this a separate sentence. Also consider specifying one reindeer to shout. Otherwise you are implying a group shout in unison, which, given the length of the quotation following, seems unlikely to be sufficiently in sync to even be intelligible. Lastly, while the phrase "in glee" is certainly better than the adverb "gleefully," it seems archaic to modern sensibilities and results in two prepositions, out and in a row. which is both awkward and might be construed as suggestive. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Really? The full descriptive name again? No one calls someone by their full name after they've met them for the first time, except for mothers scolding their children. And these guys supposedly love him. Give some thought to an endearing nickname. You'll go down in history. This lacks credibility, and is an unsatisfying conclusion to your narrative, as the statement seems so unlikely to come true. It is patronizing on the part of the Reindeer Collective and self-aggrandizing on the part of the author. The world has radar, night vision goggles, fog lamps, and guide-by-wire navigation for aircraft. Yet a shiny nose is historical? We here at Writers Group Critique Service do our best to encourage writers with constructive criticism, sandwiched in between encouraging words. But I frankly see little market for this rhyming piece of flash fiction. Either expand this thin concept into a story with some artsy description, some character development, some enhanced interactive conflict, some growth in the protagonist, and some semblance of a suspenseful story, or stash this piece of subpar doggerel in the drawer and try again. Maybe with some aliens, some explosions, and some elf-on-elf action. Sex and violence, now that sells. Sincerely, Writers Group Critique Service.